Okay,
and that's the difference.
Yeah, and the next thing is when we pick this up and we start flying it, okay, always start from a flat surface, let it settle down. Okay, I'm picking it up. So I'm using it on the opposite side, and it's a little bit out of true that you had it. I can still go side to side. The question I have, I know I have to dial side to side to get this back in and get it I like it to point down a little bit.
Okay, a little bit lens heavy.
Yeah, but it's kind of crooked. We'll deal with that. The thing I always hear, and I always hear other people asking, is how much pressure, how many fingers. I was told by Vinny, try the split finger, try this. He asked the same question, why are you holding with your left? Well, my left arm's more powerful.
That's it. Sure.
But is this a gentle touch, a firm touch, a chokehold?
It's not
what
a
am I doing?
It's
I'm
not the death
keeping
grip.
it, when I'm zooming in. Am I using this to tip as well as keep it from turn?
Well, the idea of your guiding hand versus the holding hand is to keep the framing the way you want it.
Notice you grabbed below the gimbal and I was grabbing above the gimbal. Is there a difference?
Well, the recommended procedure is right underneath the vertical center. Right under the vertical center.
That's a nice way of saying
gravity.
that I was doing it wrong.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a very nice way to say it. You did it wrong, but the bottom line is it's not going to make a big difference. The difference here is you have a lot more real estate in terms of application of pressure. So application of pressure above or below, it's still going to allow you to move it, but here you just don't have a lot of room.
And
there's just not much space
you
here.
You could be knocking things out.
You could be bumping the knobs, you could be hitting the top of the bearing holder. So it's all about underneath, gives you a lot more real estate, a little better control. That's why we recommend underneath.
So the basic setup with the D7000, a 20 millimeter 2.8, is we've got one counterweight on either side. The wings are fully extended, which is surprising to me because I thought extending them meant just coming past the first screw hole. This is interesting, and about a hand's width here. When I started to walk, the camera wanted to go on a 360, or when I stopped, the inertia kept going, and I really had to grab it.
Well, that's one of the things about this product. It's so low friction, so sometimes there's a learning curve there. It's so low friction, and when you're new to the product and you're not necessarily familiar with working with a 3-axis gimbal or these inertial points where most people wouldn't be unless they actually work with this stuff, what happens with this unit where it's so low friction? For example, if we were walking by a talent, a subject, someone that we're shooting, any subject, it could be a vehicle, it could be a person, whatever. When we're walking by and we're going into a pan, you can just initiate the movement and it's going to continue to pan. So what happens is if you're walking forward, let's say, and it starts to process a little bit to the right or the left, whether there could be a couple factors involved. There could be wind resistance, you're moving quickly. It could be as you're starting to move, there was a little bit of force causing it to kind of pan to the left or towards the right. But the idea is the feedback comes from what you see, and you need to control it with your left hand. So if it's starting to pan to the left and you don't want it to,
put the brakes on.
Just put the brakes on. Just correct your framing. That's all. Because at times, if you're going for a long stretch, let's say you're going for 100 yards, and as you're walking 100 yards, you're getting maybe a little bit of wind resistance and maybe some vibrations through your body are causing it to want to just move over to the left and pan a little more to the side that you don't want it to pan to. You're just going to gently control that and just put the brakes on, just to the point where you can feel it. You're not holding it. You're not death gripping it. You're not the split finger. That's not my approach necessarily. Some guys might go that way. What I do is I just take to the point where you can just feel the central post, and you just put the brakes on. So as you're moving around, you're just gently putting the brakes on, keeping an eye on your framing. And of course, this stuff loves wide angle. So it's all about wide angle, nice medium shots.
Set, focus, set, depth of field,
That's
everything,
it, yeah,
and
yeah.
you're running with it. Yeah, because you're not going to be focusing or changing zooms or doing anything while you're using it. So, now that we've got it all basically set up, talk to me about some of the things that can happen and some of the issues you hear about that you try and explain through email that really, email is as efficient
Sure.
as...
Sure. Live demonstration.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than having an experience to come out to the booth, check it out, fly it for yourself. So some of the different things that you could run across.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you say you're going to fly to every customer's house? Okay. You heard it first here. Okay, go ahead.
Nothing like a
What
live
issues?
demo. So
What
the
are
idea is, the different things you could experience with this setup. You could have the center of gravity could be off a little bit. You could move let's say you have a flip out viewfinder. If you position that off a little bit because you're in a framing situation where maybe you've boomed down
Right.
and your line of sight's not as good, so you move that, it's going to change the balance.
Okay.
That's one of the things where you may experience a sudden change because you've shifted the center of gravity.
And and people have a tendency to blame it on the unit rather than on something they just did.
Sure, I've had everything set up. I spent a little while setting it up, and I went and shot, and now it's a little bit different. Well, what did you change? Well, we moved this and changed that a little bit. Everything has to stay just set, kind of like we touched on earlier.
Okay.
And the other thing also is that people forget too, that this is a two-hand operation. There's times where you're using two hands to keep this thing level, keep it pointed in the correct direction, and then other times you can just fly along and just move right down a course and not have to use two hands at all. But it is a two-hand operation.
Right.
So that's the other thing sometimes people might not necessarily recognize that, oh yeah, that's right. I do need to come in, I do need to correct this thing if it's not pointed or the framing's not suitable for what I'm doing.
So, despite everything we want to think when we buy these, we're not buying a standalone tool, we're buying another component of a Steadicam system, with our bodies being part, our legs being part, our fingers.
Glidecam system.
Yeah.
Yeah, another component of a Glidecam system. Our bodies being part of it, our hands being part of it, and you got to have an eye. Mm-hmm. This is a compositional tool that allows you to just track through space and get those beauty shots. You got to have an eye for it, and you got to have an idea how to use it. There's a certain walk to it. One of the other misconceptions too is the way people walk, and that's why in the workshops that take place around the country and in the world, we have a workshop coming up in Amsterdam
Where can you
and
find
in
out
London.
about those?
Online, right on the workshops page.
Okay.
And you can also see them on the Glidecam forum. But one of the tips they teach is how to kind of walk. Fill a glass with water and walk across a room with it. So if you have that...
Hold on. You have exercises?
Exercises, that's
okay,
right.
Okay, let's reel back. Before we even set the camera up then, what should we be doing to prepare our bodies and our minds, as you're saying, for using it?
Servo motor skills, get used to really kind of being loose, being comfortable, and being able to walk kind of gingerly and not so much abrupt. So one of the...
So it's with the glass of water.
Well, the glass of water is all about, it's basically an exercise to get those servo motor skills down.
Okay.
So if you fill that water to the top and you kind of walk across the room with it and it's spilling all over the place, you got to just alter your approach a little bit.
Yeah, I'm running it.
Because
Okay, that brings to mind waitresses, and how one told me once when I asked her, how could she walk across the room without spilling coffee? Because I never look at the cup, and I glide. I'm going, okay. And I've been pretty successful adopting that. If I look at the cup, it shakes and spills.
Should be a good Glidecam operator.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
So it's about approach. So that's one of the things people
walking
don't
with
think
a glass
about.
of water. What other
Sure.
little exercises can they do?
Well, they could have a X mark on the monitor and an X mark on a wall
You gotta get the legs.
and match the two up.
Goes right to the
So
ground.
that
the
way,
walk or-
do the walk, and that allows you to then focus on how to use your second hand appropriately, keeping those crosshairs in alignment.
So just a little piece of gaffer's tape or
Little piece of gaffer's tape,
grease pen,
grease
something
marker.
on here, and match that to the one on your garage door.
That's it.
That's great.
And then some customers go as far as putting a laser beam on top and then looking at that through the crosshairs to
Oh, one of
really
those little carpentry ones.
little carpentry laser beams, so you really can get technical with it in terms of alignment. But the bottom line is, don't get too over analytic on perfect alignment, because when you have a wide angle shot A medium shot, and you're tracking your subject, the background will just disappear.
Right.
Watch any feature film that incorporates this type of equipment. And if you really want to be too over analytical and you want to look at the background, you're always going to see a little bit of roll. It's the nature of any of these products.
Brings a little bit of the new reality type without being jittery.
That's it. But so those are some of the techniques. Walk with a glass of water, get the crosshairs up. But, you know, the idea is get it balanced and go out and have a great time and get some great video. This Glidecam will change the look of your film, your production, whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool.
Well, it amazes me because, like I said, I have had this for a couple of months, and on and off I've been putting it on and corresponding with Tom about some problems I'm having, and he's not seeing those problems. The biggest change I see is I had too much weight on the bottom, and I wasn't spreading the wings far enough. So go back over and follow the steps that Tom just did, and you know, I had the plate off center from where it should have been. He shifted the center of gravity to match. Little tiny things like that.
That's
okay?
it. A couple technical adjustments make all the difference.
And then practice outside. You
Yes.
want to get your partner mad at you with the glass of water thing, and make sure whatever mark you put on your garage door you can get off. You know,
Yes.
Gaffer's tape.
Yes. Use removable paint.
Well, Tom, thanks. I mean,
Sure, Rick.
for me as a shooter, I learned a lot today.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I
It's a
appreciate
pleasure,
your
Rick.
attitude on the forum. I
Sure.
spend a lot of time there. I know you help a lot of people.
That's it.
The next time, you're going to put me in one of those space suit bionic man things.
You got it.
And we'll
You
go
got
around.
it. I guarantee
Okay.
next time we'll get you in the big rigs.
Sounds good.
All right, Rick.
Thanks much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Back to you.